I usually spend my Fridays going through Sensor Tower and just doing a little competitive research, understanding what's going on in the mobile space. Uh, I like to dig through creatives, and I thought I might shoot this video because very often I look at a lot of the top grossing games and I wonder, are they still optimizing their app store after all this time? I think it's easy to have a game that's been around for a while and doing well and not put a lot of energy towards it because you're already getting volume. But the reality is you can always improve and always iterate, and I haven't seen a lot of that in some of the bigger titles. I thought it might be fun today to go through Brawl Stars. It's a game I've been watching for a while. It clearly is doing well. It's one of the top grossing games for a very long time now, and I think like number 4 in action. The page and why I decided to pick on it today is largely due to the screenshots. While the characters are cute and fun, they don't really outline the gameplay very well, and for a game that is this old, it's like what, 5-6 years old, you're probably going to be bringing in more casual players, and I get not overwhelming them with mechanics and things like that and focusing on cosmetics, but I can't help but think that it's hard to understand, especially off of maybe the video. It's auto playing in the store. Okay, you're watching it, you kind of get the idea, but what exactly it's all about. And then if you're not a hardcore gamer, you probably don't know what a MOBA is. And I think what we can do here is break this into a few different tests on PickFu. The first being people's general reactions to the landing page. So I went on my phone and took a quick screenshot so I could throw that up. And I want to test some of these hypotheses about language or on MOBA. Are these screenshots good? Are they in the right order? So I'll do an order test there. And then I think ultimately down the line, I'd like to start looking at things like their icon. When you have a name like Brawl Stars, why aren't you showing people fighting? I feel like that's such a missed opportunity there. But who knows? Maybe they did do a bunch of testing. I'm just doing this for fun. Maybe they've already done all of this, and maybe we'll see the results and we'll go, oh, okay, they know what they're doing. They're pretty optimized. But again, I find more often than not, there's always room for improvement, even if you're doing well. So I'm interested to see. The first test, like I said, is literally just a screenshot of what you see when you land on Brawl Stars. I took a quick capture of it and just wanted to get a general read from mobile gamers if they wanted to play the game and why or why not. I'll start off with the summary so I don't have to dig into every single comment. I'm already seeing that respondents are hesitating due to the graphics and overall presentation. Too childish or unappealing. That one's a tough one because I can see as a game ages, you might want to move more and more casual. That being said, you can take a casual art style and make it more adult or more fun. Lack of clarity or distinctiveness on the app page. I feel that. I kind of feel similar. It did not effectively communicate what sets this game apart from other games. There's also a noticeable divide between those who enjoy competitive games or prefer different genres. I think that's just gonna happen. Not everyone likes this style of game or PvP. I'm less concerned with that, but already some really interesting findings. I'm just gonna thumb through the comments to see if there's anything else that I could pull from this to take into some other tests I might want to do down the line. I'm generally just seeing that people are either thinking it's interesting or not based on the genre and what they assume the gameplay to be. As an example, I don't really like PvP games. And then there's people saying it's kind of basic, I can't really tell what's going on. This is a red flag to me, and why I even wanted to kind of do a little teardown of this and really look under every stone and try to figure out what they could do to improve. All right, so let's move on to the next test. For this test, I took the first sentence of their App Store description, since we know that most people probably aren't expanding and clicking read more. This one here is what they currently have, and then I wrote a few different ones that were more general or kind of leaning into some of their other core pillars here. One around social, something hyper casual here, and then removing completely the word MOBA, and both of these tied as better, we'll say, than this one, but I would like to dig into this a little bit more and see why. So like the last test, we'll start with a summary here. D and C, so these are the winners. They like the emphasis on versatility, allowing players to choose between solo and team play. I think that helps too, so that you don't feel like you have to play PvP, and maybe you're not turning people away as quickly without digging into it anymore. I would say D makes more sense in light of what I'm seeing in the summary, but let's read on. Yep. The idea here really is just to appeal to different gameplay preferences. That makes sense, you know, it's something that's been around for a while, it looks hyper casual anyway, and people want the freedom to play games how they want. D felt energetic and action-packed, that resonated. Again, that's this team up or go solo one. I injected a little bit of chaos into this one and a little bit of a challenge that seems to have resonated with people. Across all options, 3 key topics emerged: match duration, gameplay style, flexibility, and clear communication of game features without excessive jargon. Like this says, there was no majority winner, but C and D had the most votes. It would be one of those things where I might try to iterate a little bit more, or because D is visually much different than B, the control, I might just go with that one and see if that moves the needle. And I don't think changing the first sentence is going to move the needle, but it could help with decision making and ultimately increase conversion, even if it's just a little bit. That could mean a lot in terms of acquisition costs and bringing those down in any way possible. So little things that build on each other to big wins. Getting into the options, there weren't very many people who chose A, but they did think it was simple. The others seemed harder to decipher, kind of going back to what I was saying about it potentially being really difficult to, on a quick read, understand what the gameplay is. A lot of people like fast-paced games. This one's an interesting one. B was engaging, A was motivating, B is control. E was memorable, D was personable, C was too plain. We have a call out to someone who says making the connection to MOBA helped them. This is someone who is a role-playing gamer. I'd be interested to see what other genre gamers think. B sounds the most fast-paced, action-oriented, dynamic. This person plays a lot of different types of games. Getting into the winners. This person plays a good broad range of games. It looks like quick and short matches are the way to go here. This is something that's already emphasized in the App Store, but I thought it might make sense to surface. So far, seeing a lot of variation in the types of mobile game genres that people are playing. I think that is important because, again, it's an older game and we want to make sure it has broader appeal as it gets older, especially in the presentation and how we're talking about it. Moving on to D. This is the other winner. Already we're seeing gameplay styles coming up and having options to team up or go solo. This makes total sense to me. Flexibility is very important in gaming, so this makes a ton of sense. If it were solely focused on PvP, which on a quick read, that's how I read the control as, I wouldn't want to play. Okay. I'm not going to dig through all the comments, but I am curious about how the results stacked up in terms of what types of games people are playing. If this were a game that I was working on or running, I would almost certainly want to look at options where there's a good spread around similar game types to my game. So if I'm doing an action game, I maybe want to do or look at adventure, and then look at maybe simulation role playing. But I wouldn't want to over index on, say, casino, board, card. Those all kind of are grouped together, and I wouldn't necessarily be attracting or retaining those types of people. You can see C has larger shares of very specific categories. Here, taking up most of education, people who play educational games, runners, puzzle racing. This could be seen as it's more casual and therefore has a broader reach. D has a good even split across the board. This is the one that I think makes the most sense if it were up to me, because it's very clear that you can play different game types and it's catering to you, and it feels kind of similar to what other people are saying, a little more personal. Okay, last but not least, the screenshots. This one is really more so about order, but I'm sure we'll get comments giving direction on where we can improve. So even though we see that already Team Battles 3v3 is their first screenshot and their top performing screenshot in this instance, option G down here is very far in the scroll, so that could be something that you throw up into the beginning. I uploaded them in logical order, so you can see that one of their last screenshots is their second best, then their second screenshot is their third, and then the rest all kind of middle out. I personally believe that's because gameplay isn't prominent in a lot of these. Therefore, I think mechanics might make more sense, something that lets people know what the core loop looks like and is. But let's look into the summary. Option A emerges the winner, primarily because it showcased a comprehensive view of the game. I don't necessarily agree. However, I think it does communicate really quickly what it is and shows a variety of characters. So for that, I think it is successful. It's missing any gameplay whatsoever, as is really the second one. It's just UI elements, and the third, really. But let's keep reading on. Yep, multiple characters, emphasize team-based gameplay. That's clearly at the core of the game, so this makes sense to me. Yep, effectively communicates what the game is about. providing clarity on gameplay mechanics and character diversity. All right. Across all options, 3 key themes stood out: character representation, gameplay variety, and visual appeal. Many respondents expressed interest in seeing a range of characters, that makes sense to me, which provide them with insights into potential customization diversity within the game. Gameplay variety was another significant factor. Options that highlight different modes or battle types were generally favored. I would say, without reading into anything, showing the modes visually and having the mode and then what it looks like in the context of the game would be far more interesting than showing the variety and not much else, especially for people who are not familiar or can't imagine what that might look like. Just going to thumb through these fairly quickly. We already know that A communicates very well the type of cast that the game has and what it is. And as I'm thumbing through, this is all very clear to me. As we're reading through the comments, one thing I'm looking for too is naturally people will gravitate towards certain characters. If I were to go and develop an icon, I would heavily consider maybe this character, or if anyone has mentioned any of these in there, and have them facing off. And also anyone who has stated they've chosen something for the character, I would absolutely want to test. And we could even single them out, test them, and do the same thing, but kind of 2 birds, 1 stone here. Moving into B, they like that. This is the one that shows the different UI elements with the different modes. So the character, like I was just talking about, is being mentioned. Purple-haired character looks cool. I just can't imagine people reading or being able to understand what the content outside of the character and the caption are really saying. And it seems like most people are just focusing on the character and the core message of it. I think that could be different if the frame wasn't so small in comparison to that. I think there's a lot of wasted potential in maximizing the space that's being used there. This is the customization screenshot. It didn't get very many votes. Most of them went to the first couple that we've looked at. Interesting. D was labeled as mysterious. I don't think it effectively communicates ranking up. When I think about ranking up, I think about evolving or a character getting bigger or stronger, and this doesn't really communicate that. It feels like a very static gameplay image, and I'm not really sure what I'm looking at or seeing. I am surprised, however, E is ranked so low in comparison to A, but based on the comments, maybe it does make a little bit of sense given we're talking about depth of cast versus a static character and screenshot. Let's go back to E. There you go, actual gameplay. This is a really interesting one. I don't like the first couple of images. I can't really make sense of most of them. I like the ones that show some of the gameplay imagery. Okay. Going into one of their last screenshots, which was this one and this one. Did reasonably well. So let's take a look. $60 300 skins make it sounds like there's a lot of variety and customization. One thing I've seen in developing App Store Creator for a very long time is numbers really help people grasp things very quickly. When you see them, you're going, wow, that's a lot of brawlers, that's a lot of skins, there's variety. And you don't have to go through reading a long sentence or trying to decipher something. Characters are selling this shot yet again. All right. All right. We love this. Characters really do matter, and representation really does matter. And I can certainly see why you would want to see people who look like you. Going back to what I was saying before, showing... I'm not surprised that the characters are kind of what's surfacing in the comments, because the gameplay is so small and it's not really a focus and there is nothing driving you there. It's all about the characters. Alright, let's look at this last one. Yep, highlighting characters yet again. Alright. In terms of demographics, you could look and compare to how you're marketing. So if you know that the game skews older or younger, maybe there's more weight to some of the votes that you're seeing, because you know those are the types of people that will be coming through an ad or landing on your page. Same goes for similar game categories. There's certainly more weight in certain areas as opposed to casino, cardboard, educational, family, racing, all categories that don't really match up to Brawl Stars. Yeah. And if I wanted to go a layer further, I could certainly do the characters next, and then maybe you could even pair them up differently with the different taglines. And then also the icon for boost in discoverability and organic search and all of that. But I think we're at a good place where we can say, hey, look, order's pretty decent. There are some qualitative things that I see. There's some quantitative feedback around characters where you could update the screenshots and potentially squeeze out a little more performance. And then definitely the messaging could be changed to be a little more legible and make it clear to the end user what type of game it is very quickly.